What is up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. Say it every week. I'm not Pez. I'm not making these picks. The guy I'm talking to is Pez. Pez, how was your Thanksgiving holiday up there in the Northeast?
It was a great one, Jeff. We managed another winning week, combining college and pro, and the libido play of the week paid off. So it was
Yes,
a,
it
it was a fun
did.
weekend. Fun weekend up there.
I
We'll be
was
looking
gonna.
for the Wildcats in a bowl game. My wife is guaranteeing another victory, so I'm all ready for it. I can't wait.
For those that don't get this joke, you got to go back. Maybe you missed last week's because of the holiday. You got to go back and at least hear the libido play of the week, which was Arizona State. But let's talk about the picks last week. Let's get to or do you want to talk about Legs and his issues right out of the gate? What's up? What do you want to do, Pez?
We talk about a lot of different ways to gamble, Jeff, and for people that are experts or people that are pro or semi-pro gamblers, this isn't anything new, but I caution people, and my buddy Legs, the legendary beach guard from the Jersey Shore and winner of all bets at times, he opened up a new account. A lot of these offshore accounts or gambling casino accounts, they're going to offer you free plays. They're going to offer you bonus money. He got five $50 free plays from a house. I don't really want to mention it, but he hit a parlay over the weekend. And it's one of Legs' biggest parlays in a month. The problem is some of these in the fine print, you got to look at them. I believe he got $250 in free plays. He's got to bet $2,500 before he can withdraw that free money. So his wins are being processed, and he can still play that money, but he can't withdraw it. So it's something to think about when you're opening these accounts. And there was a time where you could get a lot of free money doing that, and I had a lot of friends that were shopping some of that stuff around. You could open two accounts. You could middle a game, or you could play both sides of a game and walk away with pretty easy wins. So careful, tread lightly with opening these accounts now. I think it's important to have a couple. That way you can shop around, and lines do move. I mean, we talk
Yeah.
about it every week, and there are a couple games this week we're looking at. I think it's going to be important to be patient, especially talking about my birds and checking some injury reports going forward. And
Yeah.
the lines can, especially this time of year, there's data on every team. Lines are going to get tighter, so it's important to get that half point when you can.
Well, I think it's also important to note. My dad used to always say about just anything, it's too good. There is such thing as too good to be true. And
At
so you see
times,
some of these like, oh, you get $250 in free bets. Like you said, read the fine print because sometimes you're thinking, oh, I cash in on a $50 parlay. Maybe it's a 3-4 leg parlay and we hit. I'm going to take that money and run. No, you can't because it's too
sure,
good to be true. And you got to put more money into the system because they're not going to have people walking away with that free cash.
no,
So I think that's an important note there. But let's talk about last week's games a little bit. The NFL, we were 27, 18, and 1 heading into last week, and we end up going 1-1-1, which not horrible. Not
no.
horrible. The nightcap on Thanksgiving was our first pick. You said take the 49ers in a big way over Seattle. 49ers were giving 6, and they won by way more than that. You like the 49ers?
That was an easy one, Jeff, and they overpowered that team. Seattle looks like they're limping through this season. I mean, I like Geno; seems like a hardworking, nice guy, but I question the caliber of quarterback he is. I think he's banged up. Kemba's banged up. They're running back, and I don't know. Maybe the Carroll days out there are coming to an end. Um,
Yeah.
he's looking a little old, and that style of play is looking a little old. So hopefully we keep that rolling in a few minutes. We talk about them on Thursday night too. But Niners look
Absolutely.
great. Purdy looked great, and when you give Purdy time, and Purdy's good in man defenses, and he was accurate. So that was a good win for San Fran.
Now, the game that you cared about a lot last week, it was the game of the week, the marquee matchup in Philadelphia, Bills at Eagles. The Eagles were giving 3, and I was watching this game. Obviously, I'm thinking about the bets that we have the picks that we have on the line every single
Sure.
week. And I'm watching this in overtime, and they kick the field goal. And I'm thinking, I can't end in a tie because that's not going to help us out. What do they do? Go down, score a touchdown, win by 3. That's a push. Your birds, well, they don't let you down, but they pull
No.
through in the end.
Well, yeah, I think they're now covering 78.5% of their games this season, Jeff, which
That's
is
crazy.
it's unbelievable, leading the league. When we put our plays in, we stick with our numbers. It was 3. game time Sunday, that number dropped to 2.5 in most houses
Really?
around the country. So I had a lot of people with W's on that game. Uh, I think the Birds found something in that second half. I mean, we played without Lane Johnson, and that, we'll talk about those numbers. That's tough to win without him. Looked like in the second half, the Birds found something. Jalen was airing the ball out. We were completing a lot of passes. First half, I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know what the situation is, but that was 2 games. It was actually 3 games. Midway through the third quarter, we started pumping it, put up 30 points, I think, in the second half and overtime. And Birds gang's rolling. I don't know how we're going to – no one's stopping them, Jeff. No one's stopping this train.
Well, I'm excited. We'll talk about that when we get to our NFL picks of the week. That's going to be a game. And yes, just so we tease it a little bit, you did make a pick on San Fran Philly. We'll get to that pick here shortly, but let's finish it up with the loss in the NFL last week. I was hoping that you were right. The LA Chargers getting 4 points at home, Sunday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens does not happen. The Ravens end up winning by 10. The Chargers did threaten, though, at one point, and then they just couldn't get out of their own way like they have all season. They're 4-7. They're looking rough.
Chargers defense did what we thought, held them to 20. They struggled moving the ball, Baltimore. Chargers defense let us down a little bit. I think they gave up a touchdown with 1:50 left, and that's going to cost us a cover. I mean, it should have been a 1-point cover. Yeah. Herbert, he didn't move the ball too well, and that's tough. I mean, last week was a tough week again, betting a lot of one-score games. I mean, that's a one-score game. You think about it. So we were happy to get out of there 1-1-1 in pro, and when you have your bad weeks, when you're even money gambling, that's a bonus. I mean, your bad weeks, if you're even, that's great. You survived in the next week. When you go 0-3, those are the ones you start scratching your head and start flipping a coin on bets. And we're not there yet. We're still humming, Jeff.
Yeah, we're riding that wave. Let's go to NCAA. Fared much better in the NCAA. Went 2-1. You took a pick on the biggest game of the season, Michigan, Ohio State in Michigan. The big house, Michigan wins. They cover the 3.5 points, and you look like a genius again, Pez.
Well, I appreciate it, Jeff. Michigan was great. That team, I think, had a little extra motivation. Ohio State and their coach looked a little nervous. I don't think he's beaten Michigan State yet. Kind of sounds like Penn State's coaching situation where they're great, but then in these biggest games, especially rivalry, Michigan, Ohio State, they came up a little lame. Marvin Harrison Jr. did his best to beat us. That guy is rough to stop. But they held him, to a normal game. I think he had 100-something and a touchdown. Michigan came up big for us. That was a war. It's the best college game I watched all year, and we'll see about going forward with those two teams. Michigan, if they can hold on, it could be a national championship.
It's incredible that Ohio State's now been knocked out of the top 4. Like when you think about that game, like those are two of the best teams in the in all of college football, and for them to knock them out of the top 4 just after one loss to the number 1 ranked Michigan. Like, that doesn't make sense. I don't get it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And, Alabama's sitting at 8. They're hoping Florida State loses. Maybe somebody else in that top 4. I think Oregon, Washington State, both of them could argue to be in that top 4 too.
Yeah, and we've got some big games coming up with some conference finals and championships here. But let's get to the libido play of the week, which was your wife's Arizona Wildcats at the Arizona State Sun Devils. Arizona was spotting 11, and they dominated them from start to finish.
That team is rolling, Jeff. I'm kicking myself. My wife told me all season. She had her Wildcat sweatshirt on. She was bouncing around the house. It was a fun day, fun win. I love that Wildcat team. Some good West Coast football this year. And I got some friends telling me I'm over. I'm kind of exaggerating how good that Pac-10 is and that Pac-12, I guess. But there's some good quarterbacks and good offenses out there. I don't know if they can keep up with an SEC team in the championships we have in the bowl games coming up, but I love Arizona. They're riding high. I can't wait to bet them in a bowl game. I don't know if that came out yet today or it's supposed to come out a day or two, but can't wait. I
haven't seen the early bowl schedules just yet. I'm sure we'll be talking about that here on Pez's Picks in the coming weeks. Let's go to the bonus plays. We haven't talked about the bonus plays. You had some soccer plays. You had Man City plus 340 versus Liverpool, and then Man U versus Everton. Man U was plus 150. How'd those play out for you, Pez?
Well, we had Liverpool. They were plus 340. They tied, Jeff,
That's
which, right. When you're over there in Europe, they would have called that as a loss. There's no pushing in Europe on these football games, soccer games. You could bet a draw. The draw was plus money too, but we went Liverpool. Ties a loss, but we did hit Man U. Man U, big W at home or against Everton, and looked to be a little bit like the Man U team from old. So we walked out positive money on those two soccer bets,
There
and
you
that's
go.
great. We'll take it. I mean, if it's $100 bet on each side, we walked away with 50. That's a big bonus.
There you go. So they're the bonus picks. Now let's go to this week's selections, and we're going to start with the NCAA, which let's update our record. Since starting this podcast, we were 11, 10, and 2 in NCAA. So we are north of 500. That's what I love to see.
Love
And
it.
you picked two big games this week. First one, let's talk about Oregon at Washington. Or is this a neutral site game?
Neutral site game. It's a rematch from about 6 weeks ago. Washington, Oregon. Washington get 9.5, Jeff. Love it.
Right. And this was the first episode we did was when Washington and Oregon played. Washington was giving 3 at that time, and that was in Washington. I remember. I'm looking at my notebook right now, and that ended up in a push. Now we have Washington is getting 9.5 points. You talked about sucker bets last week, Pez. This screams sucker bet, does it not?
I don't know, Jeff. It possibly. I mean, I know since that game, Oregon's played better, and Washington has won. But Washington, their past 8 wins, all decided by 10 points or less. 6 of those wins by 1 score. And I guess those lines are tightening up because of that. A couple insider things about Washington Huskies. Been out. They haven't played with their 6'8" right guard at full steam for about the last 5 weeks. Guy's 6'8". He's a monster. Big help for Mike Penix Jr. Came back a little bit gimpy last week. They're looking at him being full steam. A couple wide receivers coming back in the mix too. 18 straight wins for the Washington Huskies. I don't get this line. I just don't get it. I love Bo Nix. I mean, 37 touchdowns for that guy. Penix Jr., 32. I'm sticking with Washington, Jeff. I mean, I don't see how that game's going to be much different, and I'm not going to be shocked if Washington wins that outright. They look like they're on a mission. I mean, they really do.
Yeah, Washington might have lost some steam as the season has gone on, but 9.5 points is a lot of points in this game where Washington beat Oregon earlier this year, and that was a crazy finish, but still,
Sure.
You're taking Washington plus 9.5. I get it. And in a neutral site game, you have to think that home crowd is going to be, well, it's kind of negated because you're going to have equal fans of both parties probably. So
sure,
something to consider.
Washington, these close games probably is affecting the line, and there's algorithms and math involved in making these lines, of course. So, what your winning margin, what you've done against equal opponents. Maybe Oregon's had some better wins, but I like teams that have been battle tested. When you're winning 1 point or 1 score games, that means you know how to win. And the Eagles have done that a lot this season as well. They're not going to panic. Oregon, all the pressure's on them. This is a national championship. Whoever wins is going to be in that top 4, maybe move up, and whoever loses, they're done. I mean, that's it. So this is all the marbles for both teams, and I'm going to keep trucking with Mike Penix Jr. and the Washington Huskies. I love the direction they're going, and should be a fun one. I mean, every game this week's big, and it's a limited card in college, so you got to go with the big ones this week, and we're going with the Huskies.
Another big game, SEC championship, Alabama, Georgia. Alabama is a team that we took last week. We talked about the 14.5 spread against Auburn. I don't even know if we did talk about it. I think we did.
Sure.
But still, it took a last-minute touchdown to win, so we didn't win that bet. But nonetheless, Alabama at Georgia. Alabama's getting 6.5 points in this game. You talk about a team looking to rise up the rankings. If they beat Georgia, they could be in the top 4. It's a big game for Alabama.
If they win this game, they have to be back in. It's Saban. It's Alabama. I mean, they're still sitting at 8. That's still got to piss them off a little bit. Auburn played great. Best game of the year for Auburn. I called them average last week. They didn't play like an average team. Bama, I can't remember the last time Alabama's had 2 bad games in a row. So I like coming out of that with a miracle win. Jalen Milroe, quarterback Alabama, stud. I mean, that guy showed us a lot. That throw it. The way to win that game, that's something I think teams come riding high in. That line opened at 3.5. It's up to 6.5. You're giving Nick Saban and Alabama 3 free points. I'm taking that all day. And again, this is their national championship too. This is it. This might be the national championship at the end of the day, Alabama and Georgia might be the two best teams if we look at it. Florida State lost their quarterback. Maybe the Pac-12 is a little soft, on both sides of the ball. So this is it. Plus Saban, 2021, they got blown out by Georgia. That guy doesn't forget that stuff. I mean, that guy is a winner. He's the Belichick of college, and he's talking about that this week. And this is it. They want to make the NFL. They want to get high draft picks. You got to be in these premier games. And if Alabama loses, they're going to be in some bowl that nobody's watching. They win, top 4. I love it, and I'm going to take those free points, and we're going to ride this Alabama wave and hope it keeps going.
We'll see. We shall see. I could also see Alabama getting their doors blown off. So I could see it's going either way.
It definitely could happen. I mean, Georgia's great. I mean, obviously they're great. Defensive great. I mean, they're a defensive line machine now. The Birds are benefiting from that, and we'll see. I'm going with the Crimson.
Okay. Let's shift our gears to the NFL, which you now sport a whopping 28-19-2 record this season. That is a phenomenal record. I believe that's better than most national pundits, isn't it?
Love it, Jeff. I mean, we're pushing, 60 some odd % here. And I mean, we've been rolling and we've been dialed in with the league. We're going to keep going with what we've been talking about. Quarterback situation is a big, big determiner. I can't recommend people to bet money on some of these quarterbacks. I mean, there are a lot of games that I look at. I don't know how you bet it. I looked at the Jets game this week. I'd like to take them, but how are we going to put money on a quarterback that Brady, whatever the heck his name is? I just can't do it. So we're going to keep rolling with the better quarterbacks, and I think that's a recipe that's going to keep winning for us.
Okay, so let's start on Thursday night. 2 teams that played on Thanksgiving. Seattle goes down to Dallas to play the Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are spotting 9 points. You say it doesn't matter. We talked about Seattle, obviously, in the recap of last week's games. You think Seattle wins and they cover?
We're going with Dallas, giving the 9.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yeah, Dallas plus giving 9, yeah.
We talked about, I think you said, Jeff, Dallas is great playing mediocre teams. I mean, they blow them out. They light the lamp a lot. Coming in with that offense, second best defense against the run against Seattle, struggling to run the ball. Kemba's banged up for Seattle. I think he's still listed as questionable. He's got an oblique injury. O-line's real banged up. Geno might have a little bit of elbow soreness as well. And Dallas needs a win. Dallas knows they lose. There's no way they're catching the Birds in the division. Birds, Cowboys, or the Birds, the Cowboys, and San Fran are all gunning for that number 1 seed. And that's going to be a big determiner in the playoffs. All 3, probably the best 3 teams in the NFC. They need it. Dallas put up 45, 33, and 49 in their last 3 games. They're 5-0 at home. I like the way they're trending, and I think Seattle's in for a long night. I mean, that team looks like they're leaking oil a lot. Teams have figured out how to control Metcalf a little bit, and I love Dallas in this matchup, especially on a Thursday short week.
You brought up home field advantage, and this is a big advantage for Dallas. They do not play the same when they're away from home, but when they are there, in which they are in this week, and it's Thursday night, but it's not a short week. Both teams have had the same amount of time to prep. So, yeah, I think this is a smart play. Dallas -9. I'd be shocked if Seattle keeps it close. I think this one's a runaway for the Cowboys.
Hope so.
But let's go to the game that I really want to talk to you about, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. They're going across the country to play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles, 10-1 Philly, right? Your Birds, you talk about them every week. They're coming off that big win over Josh Allen and the Bills, and somehow, some way, San Francisco is spotting 3 points. Make it make sense, Pez. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, the Birds have come off wins now. They beat Mahomes and Andy in Kansas City. Now they beat Buffalo. Probably people think that, when they're setting these lines, they're looking at stuff like that a little bit too. And 3 big wins in a row. My feeling is a lot of people are going to San Fran. My only hesitation, Lane Johnson, who we won with last week, right guard for the Birds. Birds are 14-22 straight up when Lane Johnson doesn't play. So I just checked the report this afternoon. We have some good news coming out of that. Johnson's questionable. He's moving around in practice. And Dallas Goedert, our tight end, he appears to be coming off IR. He broke his forearm and looks like he's going to come back early for this game. First half of that Birds game last week, Buffalo dropped in the zone. There was a lot of space underneath. We just don't have anybody. We didn't have any plays. I don't know what it was. So second half, I feel like we found something. Jalen was hitting a long pass again, looked like last year. If Goddard's back and Lane Johnson's playing, I think 3 points that's a gift. And Birds at home, like you said, San Fran traveling. Their only Achilles heel for San Fran might be their pass defense. They've had some injuries. They've got some safeties that have been down. Their big losses came to Cousins and Burrow, guys that can throw the ball like Jalen. And San Fran 12th in the league pass defense against a Birds offense. When they're in that second half, they look like one of the best passing teams in the league, if not the best. And I think that something clicked with the offensive coordinator, Johnson, who's been a little shady throughout this season, his play calling. I love the Birds. I know Sirianni doesn't let these guys look at games you can take off. They're on a mission. And they feel like last year they let one go in that Kansas City Super Bowl, and they're going to keep trucking. And Jalen looked a little healthier. Guy was running the ball better than he has in some weeks. He got a dinged up bone bruise in his knee. I love him. I love this week, and hopefully it's going to be a little rainy, a little soggy, and hopefully Purdy has a rough day like we did to him last year.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that, 49er fans are screaming, "We would have beaten you last year with Purdy," and the Eagles fans are chirping back, and there's a lot of that going on right now. I think with Philly, you talk about the injuries, that's going to be huge, but with San Francisco, people forget it was the Cleveland Browns that killed their undefeated season. It was PJ
Sure.
Walker. And while it wasn't PJ Walker, it was their defense. If the Eagles defense can stand tall, put pressure on Purdy, that's when you get to him. And you can't let him get those little short passes to Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
It's going to be a tough game. And I like the home team. I like the team that's not traveling across the country. So this pick makes sense to me. The spread doesn't make sense to me, but the pick does. Absolutely.
Love it, Jeff. And, the Birds, a little bit extra motivation. Getting 3 at home, it's a little insulting. 10-1, team's hot. And we have saying in Philly, screw San Fran. Who are they? Who are they to come into our town? Purdy, 3 significant injuries in his first year as a quarterback. I'd hate to be going up against our D-line if you're a little bit of a fragile quarterback. I wouldn't like that. So we'll see what happens.
They're not wearing the Kellys for this, are they? The Kelly Greens?
I hope they are, Jeff. We're hot in those Kelly Greens. That's the best color we have in that city. I was in Philly today. I spent the day there, and Kelly Green all over. Eagles fever's back, and I wouldn't want to go in to play against that D-line. That D-line's great. Fletcher Cox might be a little banged up, but we got a lot of horses on that sideline, and I can't wait. Can't wait for that.
That's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one indeed. Now, the last pick here, you normally don't do this. You normally don't take the over or under on a total for a game, but you went with this route. Carolina Panthers, who just fired their head coach this past week, at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The line is 36.5, and you are saying take the over. Explain why you don't play these style of picks too much, and then also your thoughts on the pick.
The totals are tough. Totals, you're taking into you're hoping a lot of things are happening. When you bet a total, you're betting both teams. So in a way, I look at that as reducing my odds a little bit. When you take one team or the other, it's 50-50. When you're betting a total, you're betting against both defenses or both offenses. And, I think it just puts into a little bit more chance than you really have to risk. This game, though, down to 36.5, fired the whole coaching staff. Bryce Young, I know the conversation was we need to get somebody in there that's going to call plays, that's going to open up the playbook, and let's see what this kid has. So I think this week he's going to have – this is his week to prove. Am I a quarterback that can play in this league? They got nothing to lose. They don't need to worry about winning even. Both defenses are giving up 26.5 to Carolina's giving up 26.5 points a game. Tampa's giving up 20.6. So, to me, that favors an over big time. Baker Mayfield's a little bit dinged up, ankle. But he's got something to prove, too. Can he stay in this league? Is he a starter? And I think for both teams, airing the ball out is going to be the play. I don't see why they wouldn't, especially with Carolina. You got new coaches. You got to put points up to show that you can coach in this league as well. So, I love it. I love it. And I think the lamps are going to be lighting all day. Hopefully by halftime we're looking at a 20-17 game or something, and then we we can shift our focus to other plays.
Mike Evans, all he does is catch touchdowns, caught 2 last week. So, yeah, I get it. I get it. The Carolina, to me, is the wild card here. Tampa Bay is a proven commodity. You have a quarterback that's at least done it before in the league. You've got receivers like Evans and like I mentioned, and then you have
Godwin
Carolina. But you just don't know with Carolina. Like, what are they bringing to the table?
Yep.
They don't have many offensive weapons, and man, it's going to be tough. Like they traded away their best offensive weapon in DJ Moore when they obviously shipped him to Chicago. So
sure,
you're taking the over. This is our first time we've had you take the total in a game.
I think we took one total maybe earlier.
That might have been when you were on the call sheet, though.
Possibly, and I like this game. I think new coach going to give a little bit more oomph in that offense. Take some pressure off. Things obviously weren't working. Yeah. Bryce Young looked terrible. So this is his time and the coach's chance to kind of let him air it out and then see what he's made of. I think he's a better player than he's shown.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Now, you did tell me you had some bonus picks for the Hero Classic down there.
Oh,
Jeff. Tiger, please, God, don't take Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods coming back, from what I've been reading, healthier than it's been predicted he'd ever be again. He's claiming he's going to play once a month, every big tournament.
Which is such a lie because he never played once a month, even when he was healthy. Why would he say that now? Like, he's just literally just drumming this stuff up. You're going to get me started, man. Don't get me started.
Well, things I like about this week. Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy are trying to save the PGA Tour. You know, the PGA Tour is under attack from LIV. Rumors, Jon Rahm, Spanish Bowl, $600 million to leave. They haven't cut a deal with LIV yet, so come December 3rd, come January 1st, if there's no deal, those leagues are split. Tiger knows that. I mean, he's the show. I mean, he's like, playing with Tiger Woods. Even these days, it'd be like going on stage and singing with Elvis or something. So, 20 guys in this tournament down in the Bahamas. Tiger takes his yacht. Guy has a lot of fun on that yacht, based on what I've read on the internet. It's his course, his tourney. 20 guys. He's plus 900 to finish in the top 5. I'm taking that all day. Something to show, something to prove. He's loving life with his kid playing golf. They got a tournament in a couple weeks, that father-son thing. I love this play, Jeff. Playing with Tiger Woods, that's still something that most guys don't do well. And if the big cat's out there not limping, I love this play all day. You want to be a big bet, I think it's 8,000. He's plus 8,000 to win. I mean, that's a risky one. You'll throw $1 on that. It might not be a bad option. It's something to do on Thursday, Friday.
So you said it's top 5 plus 900, right?
Top 5 plus 900. I love it.
I would not touch him with a 20-foot pole until he proves me that he can actually play more than one round of healthy golf. And maybe this will happen. Maybe I actually hope that he does compete and he's back. I don't think he's going to win again, but at the same time, golf is better when Tiger's involved. So absolutely. I do want Tiger to do well. I don't want to see him limping around and wincing and all this stupid crap we've seen for the last 5 or 6 years. Again, I want him to be healthy. I want him to be out there, and I want him to compete against these really good young golfers that deserve some recognition. And what better recognition than beating Tiger Woods in a tournament? So it's going to be exciting.
The good news in the Bahamas, I don't know if you've been, Jeff, been with my wife a few times. Beautiful place. Most people drive golf carts. Guy can't crash a car. I don't think there's any danger for him. Maybe he takes a boat from the yacht. I mean, who knows? I mean, that guy's going to be happy. A little bit out of the spotlight, too, playing in the Bahamas. So I think I've never seen Tiger this happy than he has been this year.
Out of the spotlight, gosh, everywhere I turn, it's stupid clips of him hitting a ball on the driving range. And
fantastic.
It's annoying.
He's got some pop. He's got a new driver. I never even heard of this. TaylorMade made him a one wood. I don't even know what that is, Jeff, but he's put it in the bag. I can see them hitting
a one wood is a driver.
I think it's like a little smaller or something. I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but he's probably gonna hit that burner, that little like 6 foot high, 300-yard scrapper.
Yeah,
can't wait. Gonna be a fun weekend, big sports weekend. It's gonna be great.
We'll see how it turns out. I'll be anxious. I'm gonna have you on my golf podcast when it gets closer to the Masters, and we'll talk about gambling and golf.
Oh my God, talk about gambling that week. There's too many numbers to get involved that week. Fantastic week.
Going to be awesome. We'll see. All right, Pez, good stuff as always. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk next week. Take it easy.
All right, let's get him, Jeff.